This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. For help with your retirement, schedule a 15-minute phone conversation with the team at ProStatus Financial Advisors today. Just call 866-597-1040 and at thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
We're going to get into the show today by talking about some numbers here. And the way I'm going to get into this is this. The whole nation over the last 5 years has bought into this. You need to have 10,000 steps a day to stay healthy. And I mean, I bought a Fitbit. I bought into the whole thing because at work we had an insurance company that said, if you do this and you keep track of this, your premiums will go down. So we all did it. Well,
How'd that work out for you?
I look the same as I did before.
Did your premiums go down, though? But did your premiums go down?
The premiums did actually go down. We all bought in, so that was good. Well, now, in the last week or so, the new news is a 10,000 number? Nah, maybe not so much. Now they're saying 7,000 steps a day will probably do just fine for you and keep you as healthy as the 10,000 did. So, again, we here talk about numbers all the time. People say you need $1.8 million to retire. You need $2 million, $3 million, $5 million to retire. And then you get them in the office, Mike, and say, that number isn't for you. That number probably isn't what it needs to be. Let's talk about income in retirement, how much people actually need, and how some of these numbers are just really screwed and skewed, I guess we could say.
Well, I think the biggest issue that we see is that people have sat down with somebody, they come to us, and they already have an annuity in place that they bought from another advisor. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite stories, we were talking about this just last week. You know, it was out of Michigan, and I'm sitting there. I was actually having a conversation with their advisor. They wanted us to talk to their advisor up there, and so I'm talking to the advisor, and he had sold them this annuity, and I'm not. This is nothing bad about American Equity. That was just the product that he used. And so it's not a commentary on his American Equity, good, bad, or otherwise. But he had sold him an annuity, and they put $900,000 into this annuity, and they were getting ready to retire. It had been 5 years, and this annuity was going to be used for income purposes. And so the advisor is explaining to me what he did and why he did, because I'm trying to help with some tax planning. And he said to me, I sold them the American Equity annuity. And I said, great. Why American Equity? And he said, because it has the best income rider in his state for his client. And I said, great. I said, how much income do they need? And the look of horror on his face, it was just blank. And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, then why did you sell them the American Equity annuity? And he said, well, because it has the best income rider. And I said, yeah, I got that part. But how much income do they need? And when we actually looked at the plan that the clients had said this is what we wanted to do, because Ryan and I were brought in to do tax planning for this guy. He hired us to do tax planning for his clients. And that's how crazy our industry is. A financial advisor not able to do tax planning for his own client. So he had hired us to help with this tax planning. And so it turns out that between the husband and wife, they had $80,000 worth of Social Security coming in. They were retiring at age 70. They were going to have $80,000 worth of Social Security. They had a very small pension, $7,000, but they had $87,000 of income coming in, and he had sold them an annuity that was going to produce $90,000. And so we sat down and we had to come up with a solution, because now they had this annuity that was producing and the only thing that thing is good for is producing income. So to kind of bring it full circle into what you're talking about, I think what ends up happening is people sit down and don't really give it a thought about how much income do they really need. What does the honey-do list look like? What does the round-to-it list look like? What does the bucket list look like? Where are we leaving? Ryan and I joke around all the time. I thought I was going to play golf, ride motorcycles, and tour the world. And my wife says, we're going to live next to the daughter-in-law we like best. So, it all starts by having a conversation, figuring out exactly what retirement's going to look like, figuring out what you actually are going to need income-wise, and figuring out how to produce that income. And you know what? Is $1 million the right number? Is $1.8 million the right number? I think it's very specific to each individual. That's why you need to pick up the phone, give us a call, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Sit down with Ryan, myself, and our team. We will show you how to create income streams that you'll never outlive. We're going to talk to you about the fees. We're going to talk to you about how much risk you're taking, long-term care, estate planning, and taxes. Talk about one of the things you can control the most. How about paying the least amount of taxes legally possible? It all starts by picking up the phone, 866-597-1040.
So when it comes to income, Ryan, I mean, we see these numbers. You need $1.8 million. And Mike just brought up such a great example of how those numbers aren't your numbers. And that's really what you guys do is you sit down and figure out what do you need for the things that you want to do in retirement.
Yeah, it's a very situational thing. Everybody's number is different. If you remember years and years ago, you used to see the commercials for, I want to say it was ING back in the day where, people were in a park and they'd be imagining things and they'd see that little orange origami squirrel talking about their number.
Yeah.
Or you'd be in that same park, you find a string on the ground and you'd grab the string and walk to the end of it and it would show you what your number is.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's number was different. Well, there is a mathematical calculation that says here's how much money you need to have in retirement. And everybody's situation is different. And it really is dependent upon how much income you and your spouse need to have every single month. And I think that's one of the harder questions for a lot of people when they come into our office. Most times when you go sit down with a financial advisor, the first question they ask you is about rates of return and risk. And what's different about Mike and myself and our team here at ProStatus is the very first question that I'm going to ask is how much money are you spending a month right now? Because that's the number we're shooting for. If you're spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 a month, that's the number we're trying to replicate. And most people don't know that number. So that's the first step is really kind of figuring out that number. And I've been having this ongoing conversation right now with a new client of mine. His name is Steven. And we've been talking about the financial plan that he had done by a previous advisor. And it's kind of similar to what Mike was talking about. He met with this other advisor, and the other advisor had sold him 2 annuities with security benefit. And, once again, not a comment on security benefit. That's just who they were with. And I'm sitting down and we're going over his numbers and we're really talking about a tax plan because he feels he's paying too much money in taxes. I'm looking at his tax return and he's bringing in a little bit north of $13,000 a month coming in every single month after taxes. And I said, okay, so this is how much you're spending, right, Stephen? And he goes, well, no, I'm only spending about 10. And I said, okay, well, what's this other? It's like $3,500 a month that's coming in. He goes, oh, well, that's money that I'm saving. And I end up saving that money all year. And then I put it in my brokerage account. I was doing that with my other advisor. I intend on doing that with you. And I said, so let me get this straight, Stephen. We're taking money out of your IRAs because all the money that he had saved for years and years and years was in 401ks and IRAs. You put them into these annuities, and now we're taking out $3,500 more a month every single month coming in. And he goes, yeah, that's about right. And I said, and you feel you're paying too much money in taxes? And he said, yeah, I'm paying too much money in taxes. I said, well, you're absolutely right, Steve, because if you're spending $10,000 a month and you're bringing in $13,500, we're taking out $3,500 every single month out of your IRA, paying tax on it just for you to put it in your savings account. Oh, by the way, once that money's in the savings account, you're paying tax on the interest every single year. And then at the end of the year, you're taking that money and you're putting it in your investment account, your brokerage account. And that money's been invested for years by your other advisor in all these mutual funds. Every single year, you get that other 1099 from the brokerage company that says, hey, here's your interest, here's your dividends, here's your taxes on all this money you've been saving. So what we're doing is we're paying tax on money just to have a savings account, just to pay more taxes. And this is something that because his other advisor wasn't thinking about the taxes, didn't talk to him about the taxes, had no idea that was going on. And that is why having a tax plan as part of your overall income plan is really, what Mike and I feel is the best strategy, because what you don't know really can hurt you. Taxes is a huge thing in retirement, and you want to have a plan for that. And if your advisor is not talking to you about how much income do you need, let's talk about the taxes on your income, talking about your estate plan, talking about long-term care, all those aspects of your financial plan, I encourage you to give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, and sit down with Mike, myself, and our team here at ProStatus, and we'll put together your very own income plan that talks about taxes, helps showing you how to pay the least amount of taxes legally possible. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, or you can visit our website. That's thesavvyinvestorradio.com. prostatedfinancialadvisors.com. Right at the top of the page is a button that says schedule my call. You do it right there without ever having to pick up the phone, which is my personal favorite way of setting appointments. If I have to pick up the phone, if I have to pick up the phone to make an appointment, I'm going to look for somebody else. Go to the website, thesavvyinvestorradio.com. You're looking at your calendar, our calendar, right in real time without having to pick up the phone. thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
It's so crazy that you would think that having money left over, extra income in retirement would be a great thing. But at the same time, if you're taking that money and putting it into another account and getting taxed again, that makes absolutely no sense. That is where the power of having a team that has got tax a focus of their practice. And that's what it is at ProStatus Financial. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website. Here it is, thesavvyinvestorradio.com. 2 V's in Savvy, thesavvyinvestorradio.com. There's a button there that says Income Analyzer. That's where you can start. Just click on that. We'll ask you to put a little information in there, and our team will reach out to you. You can give us a call. If you've saved $500,000 or more for retirement, this is where you'll see the power of planning really kick in. 866-597-1040. 866-597-1040. That is all the time we have this week on the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast. Guys, I'll give you the last word. Ryan, we'll start with you.
This is Ryan Herbert. Thank you so much for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast.
This is Mike Canet. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.